Today, we've got a couple veteran sellers. We're going to talk about a super wide range of topics, going from Amazon strategies to travel hacks to life hacks, NFTs, investing, and much more. How cool is that? Pretty cool, I think.
Want to enter in an Amazon keyword and then within seconds get up to thousands of potentially related keywords that you could research? Then you need Magnet by Helium 10. For more information, go to h10.me/magnet. Magnet works in most Amazon marketplaces, including USA, Mexico, Australia, Germany, UK, India, and much more.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Serious Sellers Podcast by Helium 10. I am your host, Bradley Sutton, and this is the show that's completely BS-free, unscripted, and unrehearsed, organic conversation about serious strategies for serious sellers of any level in the e-commerce world. And we've got a couple people from the opposite side of the world in Australia here. And now, really quick, we had done tried to do some recording offline here, but you guys didn't get to see it. But I was asking them, when I found out that they're both from Australia, I was like, you know what, this Helium 10 jersey that I'm wearing, they might not know what sport it is. It's not something that's common out there. So now Chris's guess was American football. Now that was incorrect. And Regina's guess was baseball, I believe. And that was incorrect. So
I've had another think.
Okay. What's your other think now?
My second guess is softball.
Not softball. Nope.
Okay.
I used to be a softball player. I used to play softball in like a company league. So,
Do you have another?
All right. You have another guess?
One more try before you tell us and put us out of our misery. I think it is ice hockey.
You've got it. Ice hockey. Yes. I had long sleeve. There you go. Yep. The number on the sleeve. And then that's the hat I'm wearing is from the LA Kings. Yes. Okay. All right.
I thought they wore helmets for ice hockey.
They do, but the hat has the logo of the team. See, so what I do is I take like my favorite team from these different sports. I've got a basketball one, I've got a soccer one, I've got a American football one, I've got a baseball one. And then I take like their fonts and logos and I have a company like make a custom shirt and then I'll wear the hat of the original, team just so that, people know what's going on. All right. Isn't there a Kings team in Sydney or something? I don't know. I swear I thought there was some kind of team named Kings. Anyways, we're not here to talk sports. We're here to talk Amazon and things. And this is you both of your first time on this podcast. And so what I like to do first is just to kind of get to know you guys a little bit more. First of all, have we ever met in person at like an event?
No.
Or do we only know each other online?
I'm not sure. Cellarfest, were you there? I don't know if I saw you at Cellarfest. I think that was the last time I was in Vegas in 2019.
CellarCon or Cellarfest?
Oh, sorry, CellarCon.
Okay, so could be. I mean, if I met you 3 days ago, I'd forgot. My memory is so bad, I wouldn't have remembered. You could have said, "Oh yeah, well, we hung out." I've been like, "Yeah, there we go. Yeah, sure." Okay.
Oh yeah, I remember that nightclub we went to. Remember that party?
Oh my goodness, yeah. You promised me $1,000. Oh, yeah. Whoops. Anyways, all right. So let's just, I like doing these just as if we met, ran into each other, at one of these socials, at one of the events. But which, by the way, I suggest to everybody to do is it's really great to network when you go to these events. Don't just stay in your shell. So Chris, let's start with you. What's your background? Are you born and raised in Melbourne over there, or
yeah,
where are you from?
I spent a bit of time in the UK, but that's not important. So I started the e-commerce journey actually back in 2001. So I launched my first brand on Google at the time for a product that I'd invented because I'd gone traveling and I couldn't sleep during the day. So I invented a sleep mask that blocks sound as well as light. And I also used to work night shift as well. So I commercialized that product in 2001 and then ran a successful Kickstarter campaign back in 2013 just to sort of upgrade the product. Raised just over $100,000, $110,000, and then jumped on Amazon.
Hold on. From those two times, was that like? I mean, was this just like a side hustle? I mean, that's 12-year gap right there, or was this like your main income, or what?
No, it was a side hustle. So it was generating, probably about $50,000 or $60,000 a year, and I had a full-time job as well, working as a search marketing expert. I ran an agency for a few years, but so then jumped on Amazon in 2015. I managed to lose $45,000 in 45 minutes with a coupon code that went, onto the coupons of the product page. So that was pretty bad. That almost finished me. But crawled back and then have ultimately sold that business in 2020 and had a nice little exit from that. And since then, I've started an agency here in Australia and I'm helping probably about a dozen brands, most of which are Australian, to sell internationally on Amazon all around the world, wherever there's a marketplace.
Now, is that enough to scratch that itch? Once you get in the game, and I think it's hard to pull away. Even if you exit your company, I've never exited Amazon brand, but I mean I just can't even, I just know when I go on vacation I got to still be checking, even though I know I have people back, checking on stuff. I still got to check what's going on and check the market and stuff. But what about you? You don't have that itch anymore, or is it enough to get it out of your system by helping other brands?
It's a bit of both. I still sell on Amazon as well. I have a partnership with my brother.
Oh, okay.
We do a bit of stuff in the UK. We do a bit of stuff in the US. We do a little bit of stuff here in Australia. So, I've still got my hand in personally, but I'm also really enjoying helping, other brands to succeed. It's really fun.
Now, the brand you exited, where was the primary marketplace for that?
It was the US, but it was also all around Europe as well. So I didn't really sell in Australia at that time because it was kind of, Australia's really just sort of getting going. I don't know if we want to talk about Australia today, but it was the US where most of the sales were. A couple of German boys bought the business in the end, and they've actually taken it to the next level. They're doing really well. So I'm really proud of them.
That's another thing I was going to say. The people I talk to, especially when you grow your own brand, even when you exit, the ones I've talked to, they still want to, they don't want it to be run into the ground. They want to check into it to make sure it's still going. That's my legacy. Okay, cool. Now, what about you, Regina? Where does your journey start?
Oh, look, I was born at a very early age.
Okay, I see where we're going today.
I was actually born in Kiev in the Ukraine, refugees, typical refugee story, traveled a bit. And then I got into Amazon in 2015. I was at that stage full-time running a retail fashion business and a solo mum. And so I jumped onto Amazon as a side hustle because I knew I wanted to be online because, retail sucks.
Also USA, I'm assuming?
I started in USA. Yep. There was no Amazon. This was 2015. There was no Amazon Australia back then. It took me 14 months for my brand, which was a side hustle, to hit its first $1 million. So I was like, oh, yeah, this is good stuff. So I got out of retail and pretty much been online ever since. I've been, helping sellers as a coach. And then more recently, I'm actually Australia's representative for Fortunet. So the last 12 months, I've been helping brands exit, which has been awesome, as well as putting together the Amazon Collective Mastermind retreats that we ran 2 of last year. So these days, even though I still have my brand, I'm spending more time with other sellers at a higher level.
Yeah, same.
Doing that. So,
are you planning to one day exit the brand, or
possibly? Okay. At the moment, it's
so. Some people are different. Some people say, you know what, I know how much money is on. Could be potentially, but it's just this is my thing, and I just want to, stick to it to the end. So no wrong answer there.
Oh, absolutely,
Now, neither of you, started your brands in Australia, but being in Australia and having, I know you're big parts of the community. Down under, right? So I'm just, I want to get an update. I've been doing this podcast about 4 years now almost. And I remember in the beginning days when Amazon Australia just launched, people were really excited about it.
In fact, I've got a claim to fame. I was Australia's first third-party seller. I helped the Australian platform test their systems way back before they even launched. So I was very bullish and brought a lot of stock in, and ding. Right. I ended up.
It didn't take off as you thought.
It did not kick off. I finally sold out of most of my product during COVID. Actually, COVID was really good for me from that standpoint.
Yeah. That was what I was going to ask, because it seemed like to go in a cycle. Like in the beginning, people were super excited, because it was like, hey, this, especially the people from UK and America, is like, here's another English speaking country. Amazon opening up will be easy to make our listings. And then it was like, oh man, there's like zero traffic here. And then I don't remember when, but I think it was during the pandemic, or maybe it was last year, during the pandemic. But I would hear reports that all of a sudden, hey, Australia is finally kind of growing. not just Amazon, but just e-commerce in general over there. So we're in 2023 now. Either of you can answer this, but what's the state of affairs for selling on Amazon in Australia in 2023?
I'll hand that over to you because I've sold out, and I haven't replenished here, so I can't speak to that.
Well, I've got a couple of clients that sell on Amazon Australia. I think the most successful ones have a fairly big catalogue. Okay. The ones that are not doing as well generally just have a sort of a single niche. I've got one client in the weight loss space sort of doing shakes and things like that. They're doing very well. They've only just started. So on Amazon Australia, the riches are not in the niches like they are in the US. The riches are in the sort of, the top categories and really trying to get that top 10 position for a dehumidifier or something that, generally in America you just wouldn't even look at as a market or a category.
Collagen peptides, man.
Yeah.
Bit of Garcinia Cambogia.
It's not a great place for my coffin shelves, in other words.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So it's, but the real advantage is that there's a lot less competition here. The other thing is that a lot of the methods that you've spoken about, Bradley, over the years, the Maldive methods and exact match PPC and brand new listings and things like that, ranking products on Amazon Australia is really, really easy. You don't need to sell many through keywords to get the rankings that you need for your main keywords. And so tools like Helium 10, for example, really help understand what the keyword volumes are, of course, and then, of course, there's some of the revenues as well that's perhaps some of the competitors are generating. So it doesn't take long, and you can do really well. So yeah, it's a bit of a mix. There's some people that are doing really well, and other people, not so good.
I would imagine a couple of the benefits would be low PPC costs. Usually when it's low competition, that's how it is. And then also, wouldn't shipping be? I mean, if I'm manufacturing in India or China, wouldn't shipping be a lot cheaper than sending it to US? Or maybe it doesn't work that way since there's not as much traffic.
There's less traffic, but the advantage of Australia, I think, when you're shipping out of China, for example, is that we don't have the crazy tariffs that Trump introduced. That's number one. Mm-hmm. Number two, and I'm just going to do a little drop here for Jamie Paros over at SKU Drop. I don't know if I can do this, but he is about to launch SKU Drop for the Australian market, which means that you can keep all of your inventory over in China. And I use SKU Drop for my US inventory and do just-in-time shipments on a kind of a shared container that they have to do sea freight. And they're introducing air freight pretty soon as well. So we're really excited for that. We can kind of do smaller inventory drops into Australia using their system and keep a lot of our inventory in the US. And then we can kind of send some to the US, to China. We can send some from China to the US, and then they're also going into Europe pretty soon too. So it's a really exciting service.
Also, so then that would be like, hey, like maybe it might make it not really economical to try and make the minimum shipment. To have to come to Australia. So now you can just kind of drip it out.
Absolutely.
Okay,
so one of my clients, for example, he sells office chairs in the US, and we've really been hit with huge storage fees over Q4. So I'm introducing them to SKU Drop next week because we can now do we can send like 20 chairs every day or 10 chairs a day or whatever we need to send in to replace what's been sold the day before. So it's just a much more flexible arrangement and a lot cheaper storage in China versus pretty much anywhere. So,
okay,
it's a good system.
All right. Now, Regina, talking to you, like the people that you see nowadays who are, looking to exit companies or exit their businesses, or I'm just curious about in general, because again, this is kind of similar. Things go in waves, like selling in Australia. Selling your Amazon business was like 3 years ago nobody had ever heard of it. Then a couple years ago it's like you can become a billionaire.
That's right.
If you do it, everybody's doing it. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh my goodness, this is the worst thing in the world. Like these companies are imploding and stuff. And so it's like, well, what's going on for 2023 as far as the same Amazon aggregator business?
Look, in the buying of businesses, good, solid businesses are still in demand. The multiples may be a little bit down from, 2 years ago. However, they're still in demand. If you've got a good, solid 7-8 figure business that has strong fundamentals, that's not a fad product, that's got good fundamentals, that's still growing, so it's got to be on that up curve. We encourage at Fortinet people to sell possibly a little bit earlier than they would in order to take advantage of that growth curve. And obviously you want to have your your numbers right and solid margins. And also make sure that you don't have any skeletons in your closet in terms of, what you've done to rank your products. You want to be, stay in the white hat territory. Don't be tempted. So, again, like every business, if it's a good business built on good fundamentals, you've got a strong SKU offering, not too broad. The buyers don't want too many. They don't want, 150, 200 SKUs. But if you've got, half a dozen, 20 SKUs with strong fundamentals, good margins, then those businesses are very much still in demand.
Okay. Good to know. Now, let's go back to Chris. I know you've been using Helium 10 for a while. I'm not going to say what's your favorite tool, but I haven't asked this. What's your favorite, here's a question, new kind of question. What's your favorite function? Like, what's your favorite operation that you do inside of Helium 10, for your clients' businesses or back when you were doing it that you'd like to share?
Sure. Well, probably the biggest tool that I use the most would be X-Ray, of course. And then and I will answer your question in a second. When I'm doing product research, I actually really like to use Magnet. I like to look at the imbalance between supply and demand around keywords. So if there's a lot of people looking for something and not very many sellers who are selling it, and using the Magnet IQ score, which is similar to the Cerebro IQ score, but also how many people are optimizing for that keyword in their titles. So I use a few of those filters to try and work out where is the imbalance. But the other tool that I use probably the most would be Cerebro. And so I use a competitor performance score to do the filter to come up with a master keyword list. I really love that it's not that new, but it is a great feature of Helium 10. Certainly for Cerebro, and I use that basically to bring the list into something that's a lot more manageable, so that I can then just prune out some stuff and then come up with a master list that I use both for listing optimization. I'll hand over to the team, and indeed for exact match PPC on launch.
Excellent. I like that point. You talk about title density. That's a metric that's slept on by a lot of people, but I tell them before. Even it could be a 2,000 search volume. And the title density is 1. Only one person has a title. There are sometimes you can launch a product and have that in your title, and you might be on page 1 with nothing, like right when you start. So that's good. And then the competitor performance score, since it's the very, very last column, at least sometimes, depending on how people arrange it, a lot of people don't even realize it's there. But that's like literally, some people call that relevancy, or things like that. But that's literally what, almost ranking the best keywords if you've done a multi-ASIN search.
That's right.
What about you, Regina? You've been selling on Amazon now 7 years.
Yes.
Now, at what point, was it a certain, like sales figure you hit, or at what point were you like, I can't do this on my own anymore. I need to like make my first hire or get my first virtual assistant or something.
No, it's got to do with what I call it, my business ADHD. I get bored. So, so it was when it was like TikToking along, and I didn't have to be creative with it so much anymore. I sort of stepped away to create other things. So for me,
okay. And then, so what? How did you? I mean, you didn't just, I'm not going to monitor anything. Like, I'm assuming, did you hire somebody?
I've got a VA. Yeah, I've got a VA.
Okay, so not locally. You hired somebody remote. Then.
Yeah.
Okay. How did you train them?
Just the usual. Have them live on Zoom calls. I did some, Loom videos of how I do stuff. Just usual.
Okay.
Usual stuff.
Well, I mean, usual to you. There's a lot of people out there who are like, I don't know, like, how do I trust somebody that I don't, that's not in my office with me? It's kind of, I think nowadays we're all more used to remote, workers, and I have coworkers here at Helium 10 I've never met, in person. But in those days, that wasn't, that's not something normal
Loom,
that you would do.
I use Loom videos a lot. I use Loom video a lot, to show process and then send them across. Yeah.
I like that. So guys, it's not, there's no right or wrong answer, whatever she said. Some people from day one, they want help. Maybe she could have handled it all time-wise, but just like she said, there's some of us who get bored really easily, and then if you get bored really easily, you're going to neglect your business because you're like, I don't have time. I'm not motivated to do that today. But that's another great case of when it's important to have help. So I hope you guys are doing that out there. Now let's we'll talk some more strategies in a little bit. But you talked about events that you guys have done. And we talked about this at the outset. I think it's so important to go to events, not just to learn strategies and things, which you always do from presentations and things, but just the networking. I've said this story about 15 times, but I owe my entire Amazon career to just on a whim, before I was really even in the industry, going to paying to go to a conference and sleeping in my car because I didn't have enough money to get a hotel, and it changed my whole trajectory because it opened my eyes up to what Amazon was, and people I network with at that event, to this day are still in my network, and so I think it's really important. So talk to me about why you guys, what motivated you to start doing this, and then what you guys have in store this year.
Look, I started going to events, I started in 2015. In 2016, I joined a high-level mastermind that was based in America, and I was traveling to Vegas from Melbourne every 6 weeks to attend.
Every 6 weeks?
Yep,
Wow.
Pretty much.
Okay.
For a year. It was full on. And when that mastermind finished, I sort of continued. I was at the very first Helium-10 Illuminati event in Mexico.
Wow.
That was even before my time.
That was
Wow.
before, with Manny
and
and Kevin,
Kevin.
and it's where I met Norm and met Guy and a lot of people there. So I've spent a lot of time, money, and energy going to events for that reason. As you said, it's not just the information, but the people you meet. And the people I met at those events, I'm able to pick up phone now, 5-6 years later, and say, hey, come to my event. And they are, there's a speaker that we haven't announced yet who's coming, who I actually met at that Illuminati event. And
now you see why we changed the name to Helium-10 Elite.
Exactly, that's right, at that event. And he's coming, but purely because we have that relationship that we met in Mexico.
Love it.
So I really love that. And that's what I wanted to bring to Australia last year, because we haven't really had anything here at that high level.
No.
There's a lot of beginners type events and conferences and catch-ups and meetups. But I think once people get over a certain level, they don't need to know the basics training over and over again. The conversations you have when you're doing, 6 figures and 7 figures and 8 figures are different to the conversations you have when you're just starting out and trying to launch. And so that was really the idea behind the events that we ran. And then, of course, our very first one was scheduled that had to be shut down because of COVID. So it turned out in 2022, we ran our first one in March. And that was
Huge.
Fantastic. Yep. And we got so excited that we ran a second one in July, which also sold out. So
Who did we have in July?
Oh, in July, we were, because the borders opened, we had Amy Weiss, Norm Farrar, and Paul Barron came and joined us. So that was
fantastic.
Awesome event. But, as I said, it's not just the guest speakers who come, it's, the sellers that are in the room. So it really becomes a group think rather than relying purely on our international VIPs like yourself.
Yeah.
We're so excited to have you join us in Bali this coming June. So
yes, very excited. My first time ever in Bali there. So what can people expect from this event, either of you?
Well, for those who came before, it's just going to be bigger and better. And for those that haven't been, it's going to be, really unique because, Australians were a little bit different to Americans, although I think we've had a couple of American suppliers. So, it's not going to be purely Australian sellers coming. It's going to be a lot more global this time, probably with a bias towards Australian sellers. Because it's easier for us to go to Bali. So what can you expect? You can expect 4 days of, in-room and out-of-room learning and networking and activities. I'm actually heading off to Bali on Sunday to, do a bit of a recce and preview some off-site activities that we're going to throw at you to get you a little bit out of your comfort zone and do some bonding.
Good.
So that'll be fun, but also, mixing with the likes of yourself. And we have Kirsty Verity, who's one of the, the OG Amazon sellers coming from Canada with her husband, who's also a 7-figure brand owner.
So it's going to be like, hey, this is something, hey, I'm going to learn something. I get to go to an exotic location. There will be activities and fun, and I'm assuming great cuisine and
we're staying in a beautiful resort that's got 3 swimming pools. So some R&R.
Yeah, but it's not going to be a holiday. Like we are actually going to do full day workshops about
not just drinking all day.
We're going to put people to work. We're going to have a combination, as we normally do, of presentations, but also workshops and hot seats where we take some of the most successful sellers, certainly in Australia last time, hopefully in the world this time. We can really drill down into what has made them so successful and how they've been able to scale to such a level. Because most of the people that come are in that sort of band where they're trying to break through from a 6 to a 7. And so we have a lot of 7 and 8 figure sellers that come. And so they're the ones that really show people or provide like the roadmap of what steps they took in order to get to the level that they're at.
All right, excellent. So guys, I'm creating a short link that should be active when you guys are listening to this. If you want more information, again, I'll definitely be there. It's going to be in June. Let me just check the dates here. It was 18 to the 22nd in Bali. Go to h10.me/Bali, BALI, h10.me/Bali.
Perfect.
And that'll forward right to the page where you can get more information. And on this same topic, this is something that was big for me for 2023 is recreation, health, mental health, physical health, things like that, is something that's on my mind a lot this year. And so like I ask a lot of the guests, for me traveling, doing stuff like this is just like fun for me. It's work, of course, but it's also fun. And that's like my hobby. And then, I've been doing I'm not doing it on this time, but I've been even recording podcasts when I'm on my treadmill right here, trying to stay physically fit. For both of you guys, what do you guys do to escape the Amazon world when you need to? What's your hobbies and what kind of routines or unique things are you guys doing to mind your, mental and physical health?
I'll start.
Go.
Yep. So love playing the guitar. So I've got my guitar sitting over here, and
nice.
I'll often pull that out and play a bit of Neil Young and whatever else I think of. But and then in terms of physical exercise, bike riding. Just love going out for a ride. Might just take an hour or half an hour out and go for a bit of a ride around the neighbourhood, and wander back and refreshed and ready to have some lunch, and then get back into work. So
love it.
Yeah.
I read, across all sorts of different topics. Some of it is business development, some of it is more personal health. I've been going down the carnivore route.
What does that mean?
Carnivore means I only eat meat.
Oh.
I don't eat. I'm zero carb.
Okay.
Zero carb, and so that's been in terms of health, and I've noticed that's made a huge difference to me personally. And travel is my thing. And now that our borders are open, 2022, I dragged the teenager around the world a couple of times to different places, and we'll be doing so again, much to her chagrin. But that's very much something that's in my blood and has been for a long time. And it's great to be able to get back into the travel. And that's the beauty of the way that we've set up our businesses, is that, have laptop, can travel.
Yes. And again, this is important. I've only been asking this question for a few episodes now here in 2023, but everybody, guys, if you've been listening to every episode, it has an answer, and it's important. The problem is, I know not all of you guys, if I ask every single one of you listeners, would not have an answer. You're like, no, I just stay in my house, all day long and work. And that was me for a while, and it got me in a bad place. And now I'm like, okay, I can't keep doing this. I got to make sure I have hobbies and things to de-stress. And so it's important as entrepreneurs, we have this in mind. Now, back to just, strategies and things like that. Chris, maybe you can talk about 2 things that have been working great for your clients and 2 things that are not working. Either like maybe when you took over an account and you're like, what? You were doing what? Like, no. And then a couple things that maybe you did to kind of right the ship, or something, or something that you think is unique. Not just, I optimized my listings and made sure I had low ACoS. Give us something a little bit more insightful than that.
Okay, so probably one of the things that I've been testing lately to turn things around for some brands. So I do inherit brands where the listings have been a little bit dormant. They're pretty old. They're very stale. Trying to turn those guys around can be really difficult. Not so hard in Australia, but certainly in the US, it's been a real challenge on some accounts. But what I'm doing at the moment is I've got a VA who's doing posts on behalf of several of our clients, so Amazon posts.
Amazon posts, all right.
That's right. So we're building up the follower lists of the brand, and then we're utilizing Amazon's new brand. What's it? I've forgotten the name. It's where you can contact the followers using an email, a templated email that Amazon offers.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yes, yes. I forgot what it's called too, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
Brand engagement, I think it is, or customer engagement. I think it's in there under the
customer
brand.
engagement. I think
that's what it is. Yep. And so what we've been doing is starting to send those templated emails out to existing customers that are following the brand to notify them of new launches, of discounts on products, stuff like that. So we're starting to see quite a bit of traction with that as both a launch mechanism, but also a way to try and revive existing products that are perhaps a little stale.
What about nowadays, Regina? What about you?
I can't answer that question because I'm so not in my brand.
It doesn't have to be about the Amazon ins and outs. We talk about all kinds of strategies here. Like talk about travel. How did you travel with a teenager around the world and not have them go crazy? That's a strategy in itself.
I tell you what I found. The first trip we went last year in June, I took her for a month in Indonesia, and we went to Indonesian Borneo, Kalimantan. And for any of you who's listening who's got a teenager, try this exercise. So what I did was I purposefully booked areas and trips where there was no Wi-Fi for days at a time. And I booked resorts where there was not.
I don't know if Wi-Fi. I would survive doing that.
Well, I've got to say, it was great for both of us. I got to read more. But what I found was after 3 days with no Wi-Fi, the teenager was a completely different person.
Detox.
Wow.
Like the detox, and it was something that we know in our gut to be true. But I was able to actually test it and prove that it was the case 3 times. 3 times in a month we were off Wi-Fi for between 2 and 3 days, and as a completely different person, all of a sudden became more engaged with the world, with the environment, more interested.
Oh.
And then we'd get to a hotel, back on the Wi-Fi within an hour, back to teenage, surly teenage things.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, I'm really encouraged that. And then we went to the UK and we did a lot of driving.
Wait, hold on. I'm like so enthralled by that. I'm just like my head is spinning. How do you even find a place these days that don't?
Well, that's why when I decided I wanted to go to Borneo, I went to Indonesian Borneo, not Malaysian Borneo, because it's so not so some of the places we went on boats up rivers where there was just no Wi-Fi connection. There was just not.
Oh.
And then we went to an island off Bali, where again the resort that we were at just didn't have Wi-Fi connection.
Did it just happen, or you were like?
Oh no! I planned it on purpose. No.
Oh, okay.
I was looking for places. I mean, it was.
So you would call them and say, "Hey, I'm just making sure you guys don't have Wi-Fi here."
Pretty much. Pretty much.
Wow. Now that you're saying this, I'm just like, I cannot remember I've gone times where I've been on a 16-hour flight, or actually, never mind, 16-hour flights. I still bought Wi-Fi at the flight.
Well, yeah, they have Wi-Fi.
I'm trying to think, have I gone 24 hours without, internet? Like, I'm not sure I have. Like in the last.
Oh, look,
4 years
your
or
brain, like there's something that happens. Your brain all of a sudden, it just sort of slows.
Uh-huh.
And it was the first time in probably 2 or 3 years that I was actually able to read a book cover to cover. I hadn't read a book from start to finish in a couple of day period. I haven't done that. I'd read a lot, but I've got like dozens of books where I've read the first couple of chapters and then I put it down and I find another one because we're just so all over the place. Our focus, and in fact, what was the name of the book that I read? It was. The book that I read was called Stolen Focus, and I highly, highly recommend it. So yeah,
interesting.
Give yourself a detox, and if you've got teenagers, give yourself a detox. And so when we came back, one of the things that I've implemented in our house is now every Sunday is now a Wi-Fi free day in our house. It's Wi-Fi screen free day, and so we've been going out and doing stuff, and it's it's great for both of us. So. There you go. Run it as an experiment and see.
Life hacks there. See,
life hacks.
The show is not just about Amazon strategy. I mean, obviously that's the main focus of the show, but life hacks are
when you're able to
decompress,
then you're able to be more present in your business, right?
Exactly.
Very true.
What about you, Chris? I mean, life hacks, Amazon hacks, anything?
Well, look, earlier on we were talking about SOPs effectively with Loom videos and things like that. When I sold my business in 2020, and I'm doing it currently with my current business, I use Google Sites. So if you go to sites.google.com, you can build a free website in there, and you can make it private as well. You can kind of stop people looking at it, or you can share it with people. But it enables you to create all the SOPs that you need for your business. So every time I do something new in my business, I'll shoot a Loom video demonstrating what I'm doing, and then upload that Loom video into the Google Sites sort of website for the business. And then you can transcribe. There's a lot of AI stuff out there that'll, like Otter.ai, etc., that will transcribe what you've said in the video. And so you'll have both a video of an SOP, but also, an actual sheet, a document. So that's really useful. And that actually added a lot of tens of thousands of dollars of value to the business that I sold in 2020, because the new owners, the two German guys I spoke about earlier, just had a turnkey, how do I do this? How do I do that? And everything was there.
Beautiful.
Interesting. Okay, that's a great tip. I haven't, that nobody's ever given. Now, I also like, talking, investing in before, and I go through phases. A couple of years ago, my big thing was like baseball cards, and it still is. I'm just here on my desk. I'm going through stuff. I'm putting onto eBay some cards and things. But since Manny and Guy started this NFT project, Manny and Guy are the you guys referenced founders of Helium 10, and I totally got immersed into it last year. Like I'd never done it before. Now, are one or both of you also in that project?
I'm big into. I used to use the term. I aped into the original mint, and got a lot of the bulls. And as you know, part of the benefits of being a bull owner is the investing.
Yes.
And so the last couple of investments I've actually sold. I sold one of my God bulls for 3.5 ETH. And that's
which for you guys out there, that's about like $5,000-$6,000 almost.
Yeah, depending on the price of ETH.
And that's something you made for free, right?
And the God bulls I made for free.
The God bull you made it for free and sold it for $6,000.
Correct. And so what I did was I then parlayed that investment into, I think one of them went into SpaceX when we had some of those investor opportunities. So I've actually invested them into seed funding. Which is one of the side benefits of that project. And at the moment, I think how many teens are left? There's less than 1,000.
There's like 800.
Yeah, so I'm busily minting as many of those things as I can before they stop. And I also bought a whole heap of those apes. The opportunity to buy the apes. When was that? Last week?
Yes. So guys, this is something that's, I'm going to try and bring somebody else on, and we'll just have a podcast just about this, because I do think NFT world, now that I'm into it, has some tie-ins to the Amazon world potentially. Maybe not completely now.
Yeah, I was in the NFTs before. I've been playing in the crypto.
Okay. This is my first.
Oh, okay. Well, no, this definitely wasn't my first. But when I saw what Manny was doing, I could recognize it for what it was as an amazing opportunity, and that's why I really put a lot of funds behind it, because I'd already been playing in NFTs for about 6 months, and I'd made some money, lost some money, but I knew what I was looking at. It wasn't just because of brand new, because I knew Manny and Guy, that it wasn't just based on that. It was based on
for me it was I was like, hey, these guys have the Midas touch, so like if they say this is good, I'm just going to go for it. Well, for me it was both, because I knew them, but also because I'd already been in the NFT space, and I could see what they were doing and what they were offering was so different to everything else that was around. It wasn't. Guys, if you want to have more information on their project, go to bullsandapesproject.com and get all the alpha there. I'm like using their lingo. Like there's lingo that you learn. You never knew.
Did you?
Anyways,
did you get some of the apes, Bradley?
Yeah, I only got 13 of the apes. Unfortunately, I didn't have enough funds. I'm too heavily invested in the bulls.
Oh, okay.
But I made some good. Like I sold a regular OG bull. Yeah. That, people thought I was crazy. Like 3 months ago, when the bulls were only like about 0.3, 0.4 ETH. Like $400 or $500. Yeah, I paid 2 ETH for one.
Oh, okay.
Highly,
one of the higher rankings.
Yep. And I just sold it for 6 ETH.
Amazing. What was the rank?
Very rare bull.
What was the rank on it? Do you remember?
It wasn't that high of a rank. It was like top 100.
Okay.
But it had a gold cowboy hat, which is only 2 out of the 10,000.
Gotcha.
And there was a collector of that, and sure enough, paid me 6 ETH. That's
amazing.
Like, what, over over $6,000, $7,000, $8,000. So guys, this can be for me. It's twofold. Going back to again the recreation thing. It's fun.
Yeah,
it's like a game almost, and it is a game, and it's exciting and gets my mind off of things, and also it's for investment. Now, Chris, just to bring it back to home for you here. What do you think is going to be important for Amazon sellers in 2023? Every year something big changes. Like last year, I think people had to really pivot because of inventory. A few years ago is reviews. What are you focusing on with your clients for 2023 to like make sure they stay competitive? Because sometimes you hear out there some people say, "Oh my goodness, it's going to be impossible to sell on Amazon anymore because all the Chinese factories are just going direct and it's impossible to compete with them, blah, blah." And they just don't understand that, no, there's definitely ways to stay competitive. So how are you keeping your clients competitive?
Such a good question. It's for just my own personal experience is really just planning, particularly around launches and things like that, and really trying to make sure that you get your listings done properly. It's just really going back to basics and just doing the fundamentals right. I think there's a lot of people that are sort of talking about TikTok and all that sort of stuff, and that's great. And I get it that people are succeeding with those sort of strategies, but I think there's a lot that you can be doing on Amazon with all the different tools that I spoke about earlier with the customer engagement sort of tools and things like that. Amazon's helping brands to really expand on their platform and get a lot more reach on the platform. But yeah, honestly, I think it's just getting the basics right, keeping across all the new things that Amazon's releasing, all the tools that, the new features, for example, at Helium 10 are releasing, just really staying across what, the basics of your accounts and your products, honestly.
Excellent. Now, guys, again, if you want to hang out with us to talk bulls and apes or talk about Amazon or talk about travel, whatever, and have some fun and learn some things and network, go to h10.me/Bali, h10.me/Bali. But other than that, if people just want to reach out to either of you, Regina, how can they find you on the interwebs out there?
Look, the easiest way to find me is I live on Facebook Messenger. I'm the only Regina Peterbergsky there is. So you can, find me on Facebook and hit me up on Messenger. That's the easiest way.
You can join my Facebook group, The Australian Seller, on Facebook, and you can message me through there. Or indeed, you can just reach me via email, chris@christhomas.com.au.
Chris and Regina, I look forward to seeing you guys in person in my first ever trip to Bali, and we'll see you guys, everybody, later.